Later, the boring reviews. So I think we're going to be talking a bit about the Shopify Winter Editions, the boring edition as they've branded it. We're going to be talking about whether it's too boring. We're talking about whether maybe it's not quite what it's meant to be. And we're going to talk about whether it keeps Shopify ahead in the competitive world of e-commerce platforms. So welcoming today, I have Matt from Quickfire Digital and I have Mikko from Woolman Agency. Welcome, Matt and Mikko.
Hello.
Thanks for having me.
Just like to give us a quick intro to kind of what you do and what your interest in the Shopify ecosystem is.
Yep. So I'm head of development at Quickfire Digital, which is a Shopify agency mainly focused on builds. I lead a team of 12 developers and basically all things Shopify solutions. So it's my job to keep up to date with all of the editions and basically be ready for all of the random questions clients ask us and all the crazy tasks they want us to do.
Very good. And Mikko, tell us a bit about Woolman.
Yeah, so hey, Woolman is Europe's largest Shopify Plus agency. We've been in business for over 7 years, currently 75 plus in size and growing really rapidly. We've been Shopify exclusive since day one, and we've been Shopify's launch partner with kind of many of the features we are talking about today. So Shopify Market, Shopify B2B, Shopify POS back in the day. And these days we are mainly aiming at sort of like the really high growing mid-market customers, but mainly large to enterprise level brands and retailers. Good to see you all here.
Awesome. So I should say we're live, so do put any questions in the chat and we'll try and answer those as we go along if you have particular questions you wanted to ask. But let's get started with kind of this, what is... It was branded the boring edition, but equally that there are a few interesting updates hidden amongst the sort of maintenance stuff. Maybe start with you, Matt. What was your kind of favorite release and why?
Yeah. Markets, which has been mentioned obviously quite a lot of times, looking back at the past editions, but actually now finally seeing and imminently, hopefully, seeing the markets area in the admin dashboard instead of in the settings area, and everything that comes with that they've been talking about. So that being the diagram that shows the breakdown of B2B catalogs and what markets you've got set up and the catalogs that are under each market, and if you've got a theme customization, that kind of stuff, that's definitely up there. One of my favorite things is determining whether a client needs markets or not, or if they go for the multi-store setup. But hopefully these kind of things are going to help us obviously try and move from the horrible multi-store approach into markets. And yeah, there's a couple of other things. You've got the checkout blocks app, which we know that Shopify purchased last summer, but now it's available to all stores, only to the non-plus ones for the thank you and order status page. So that's quite a nice little addition. And then my final one is just basically the meta objects everywhere and how that's expanding. And at least for my dev team, that's actually a really big deal because it's just making Shopify that little bit more CMS-y, I think, if that's not really a word, but it's just kind of making it much easier to design and decide where to store data and how to store data and that kind of thing.
Cool. And what about you, Mikko? What do you think was the highlight for you?
Well, first of all, I think it was nothing but boring, and Glenn Coates it's good with the jokes, so that's at least something that we've learned. The features that I could easily fill in, my personal favorite is the sort of like all the improvements related to checkout. because we check out Shopify is superb. It's so much ahead against their competition that all the small features, just like having the chat in there or speed improvements and small tweaks here and there, when you're really running a brand or are a retailer on scale, those things matter. Then another feature that I personally like is Shopify POS. So I used to be a really heavy POS user back in the day, and as they are trying to get sort of like the retailers there, they need to still improve in POS. And if I look at brands using POS, they have been rather happy with it. But at least from our customers, they have been slightly struggling, the retailers, to make sure that POS would be good enough for them, especially in this sort of like fast-paced sales. So there they maybe haven't been the best possible fit. We do still have multiple retailers using it, but overall, if I look at bigger retailers, they feel that it's not quite there yet. And as example, they would like to use their own POS devices, or kind of many heavy retailers who are going with ADN or whatever. So still like finding the perfect balance there is important. So I think all the improvements for POS are important. And lastly, I would also like to echo that Shopify markets. It's also about Shopify markets. So when 90% of our new projects are now we're going with the markets approach, and there are still some details where we feel that it should go to the right direction. However, I want to sort of like take my hat off and congratulate the team working with markets, because if we report something there, Rohit Mishra and the team, they instantly take it. And then as now in the features that were announced, those were features that we have been reporting past 6 months. So we do like the pace how Shopify keeps innovating also with these features.
I mean, Matt, you had a really good point that they trailed markets for a long time. It's not actually like even what was announced last summer isn't necessarily rolled out to everyone yet. I mean, is it critical? Is this a problem that they're not moving fast enough on markets, or is it just a bit of a teething issue, or an annoyance around the side?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking back at so we've had 6 editions now. So the first one was summer 2022, and yeah, it does seem that every now and again we'll get. Well, I mean, I think it's happening with every single one that you get something mentioned. Everyone's like, "Oh, that's amazing! Looking forward to it going live," and then nothing happens, and you get to the next one, and they say, "Oh, it's gone live," and actually, yeah, the markets in this situation is we're still waiting for some of it to happen. Some of it's in beta, which again, we never know quite when those things are going to get released. But yeah, it's certainly been a while, and it's changed names a few times, and yeah, it's been a while. But hopefully, we'll see it in. I'm hoping the next couple of weeks, really, because when I think it was the London event that Shopify ran. They had a round table there, and they said that they're expecting it to be done and dusted and live by the end of January. So we should hopefully see that soon.
Yeah, and it also like depends
I hope so
like
too.
that what type of customer profiles are we talking about? So if I talk with our smaller customers, they are typically a bit hesitant to try out stuff, but they are also aware that they can wait. But then if I look at our real like enterprise level customers who are selling like hundreds of millions or even more than that, for those, it would be really valuable that they would have even greater visibility on the roadmap and understand when those features come out. And I think that's sort of like one improvement that we are still waiting to see from Shopify. If they truly want to be enterprise, where we have been supporting them and we've been able to win some amazing opportunities together. But the feedback that we've received from the enterprise level merchants are that, hey, I need to have a more in detail visibility and understanding of the launch dates and all of that. I think Shopify has drastically improved there if I look from, I don't know, 2 years ago, but they're not quite there yet.
Yeah, they did a for the checkout extensibility. They did a roadmap. So something like that just kind of lists everything we should expect. I think that'd be great if we had that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the challenge is that they just, obviously the converse of being very agile and moving that fast is that they just don't know when stuff is going to ship. I think we have that same problem ourselves internally. There's a trade-off between like actually knowing, being able to give that confidence, the forward-looking roadmap, and actually shipping stuff fast. Like, what would you rather, they just got stuff out the door, that they told you in advance they were going to get out the door? I think that's the trade-off. And Mikko, are there things that you think they shouldn't have shipped? Things that kind of distract from the roadmap, or maybe just like areas where you feel Shopify's wasting their time developing in?
Where overall I feel that Shopify has a really good momentum. But then, of course, like as we are a EMEA-based agency, it's somewhat annoying that some of the features are all only available here in North America. So that's still the feedback that I receive from my team or even some of our customers. So it would be, of course, great to see that the majority of the features that have been announced that they would be available here, but there are limitations, GDPR, some legal matters, why some of the features maybe won't ever be available in EMEA or APAC. So that's somewhat disappointing. However, I do understand it from certain perspective. But if they truly want to sort of like serve the global market, then the majority of the features should be always as available as possible. Sort of like take the barriers away. That's something that I hear. We've been also very happy with all the B2B features and sort of like surprising the market that substantially large customers have been using the B2B solution. There are a few features here and there in the B2B product which we feel that are still like lacking some definition or where some of the competition is ahead. So of course, thinking about the B2B market, we would like to see more of these features coming out quicker, that we could compete against some of the other platforms there. However, the pace, how they have been innovating with the B2B product is very impressive. As example, if I would be ecommerce or Travis says, I would be very, very worried about Shopify and the pace with their B2B product as well.
Yeah, 100%. I remember talking to, at the Big Commerce conference maybe like a year ago, and they're very confident that's the one area where they are nailing Shopify's B2B functionality. But a year on, I'm not so sure. I think there's a much smaller gap between Shopify and the rest and B2B. What about you, Matt? Anything that you think is stuff that shouldn't have been shipped, or if you'd been had a product at Shopify, you would have vetoed?
Well, not necessarily something that shouldn't have been. Of course, this should be shipped, but there's just mention of like we sped this up, and I mean it's probably a bit of a silly statement to make, but I'd kind of just expect them to be speeding things up and I'm optimizing, and I feel like they filled up a lot of the sections on the page, on the Winter Editions page, with just kind of we sped this up. Maybe it's a little bit of filler. Not sure, but just something Mikko said that when it comes to on the B2B side of things, I just think that it has been really great, and thinking about like the first client we built with and how kind of messy and not so great it was, it has definitely improved. I think the thing that I still want some clarity on is the new accounts. A lot of people are very positive about it and a lot of people are very negative about it, and obviously we had the account extensions that were launched as part of this edition. Are we going to see checkout blocks kind of get merged into like a blocks app where you can build stuff in account extensions? There's just not too much flexibility there at the moment, and we've got got clients asking questions as to whether like the old account way is going to get deprecated. Are we going to have to get forced into the new one? It's basically having not mentioned that and any clarity around the new accounts makes me think like, what is the approach to the accounts?
I think it's quite strategic for Shopify, that one, because actually, my thesis is that e-commerce is kind of moving towards more kind of logged in experiences because of the challenges of marketing and remarketing to anonymous users, and therefore, account management and kind of customer profile and stuff become actually a much bigger consideration for a lot of brands. It's no longer just, I mean, let's be honest, a lot of Shopify stores over the years got away without anything. You didn't know that you maybe had a customer profile in the store, but you didn't actually know that as a customer. Whereas I think that's becoming a much bigger thing.
Yeah, I think it's as a whole, like they're trying to like create an interconnected kind of account system across all Shopify stores, especially with Shop Pay and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it kind of makes sense. It's just definitely some clarity, some idea on if we're going to lose the what they're calling now the legacy accounts, I believe. Definitely on the hopefully summer editions this year we'll know more.
Yeah, and then one super important
so-
thing is that what we've noticed is that one feature that they didn't push too much, or sort of an area which they used to push a lot still, like few editions ago, was sort of like the headless and composable. Mac Alliance was all about composability and pushing sort of like the headless builds. Now Shopify is more gentle with the headless part. Yeah, you can still go headless, but the sort of like native Shopify is so good. If you really aren't like large to enterprise level player who can invest in that type of an approach, then they are going with liquid solutions, meaning that they're actually pushing liquid in sort of a documentation a lot. And even in some of these like larger enterprise level opportunities and the language, they are like, yeah, let's go with our native themes, try them first. And only if then they aren't enough, then go with a different approach. So I think that's super interesting. So the market, Shopify's own product is so damn good that the amount of headless Shopify builds is actually going drastically down. They must have calculated that with Shopify, they want to have the maximum amount of Shopify Plus licenses. And the Shopify Plus customers who are the happiest with the platform are running with the native solution. So you still can go headless if you wish, but maybe not the option that it was still like a few years ago for some of the mid-market players in fields such as fashion.
And Mikko, I know you do a lot of stuff, obviously, with migrating customers, big, more enterprising customers from platforms like Salesforce to Shopify. Do you think some of the features recently announced help that? I mean, are there particular gaps at the enterprise end that Shopify are filling?
Yeah, I would say that there are many. And first of all, to be very honest with the competition, if I look at platforms where we migrate away from, it's mainly Salesforce. We've done commerce tools in a few cases, such as Daniel Wellington. And then we've done a few other cases with smaller platforms, or seeing more and more these custom builds, which we are migrating to Shopify Plus or Shopify Enterprise. And the reason why we are doing it is that Shopify has this really good TCO promise. It's sort of like important that you can estimate your operational costs. Shopify can be very efficient there, also with customers who are in volume there. And if I then again look at, as example, Salesforce haven't been able to innovate much past years. I was just talking at NRF to one customer who has been running Salesforce for over 9 years, and they were just like asking that where's the innovation, and they are now on track to become one really massive Shopify customer. So some of the features that the large and enterprise level players are looking for is obviously the checkout. So we still see some cases where they've, as example, built a custom checkout, and now when you can get that as a basic feature with Shopify. So why to build custom made if you can get really good commercial solutions at a very affordable, or rather sort of like good cost in many ways. And if I look at sort of like Shopify's documentation, it's not only about the core product, that does the product tick these boxes, but it's all about the language what Shopify is using, the marketing they are doing, the events they are doing. They just revamped entirely their enterprise materials online last week. So I think that's also part of the story, because when I talk with some of our enterprise customers, they want to understand that the platform can deliver. They want to talk to their peers. They want to know the features that are coming out. But most of all, they want to be treated that they feel that they are like respected enterprise customers. And that's a massive leap Shopify has done just in a single year.
Yeah. Well, that's why the sales cycle is so damn long. So, that level, they need to be reassured over many years that it's a stable platform to move to. Matt, let's talk about Sidekick and AI. I mean, you said you've gone back through the previous editions, and you're pointing out that in 2023 that was like the big splash announcement. I think it was a bit of an obsession with Toby that this AI was the future, and they need to be doing AI, even though it wasn't really on their roadmap. Is it useful? I mean, is it going to put agency out of business? Should we be worried?
Yeah, well, yeah. So looking back at that summer 2023 edition, I think it was called "Imagine My Business." That was, yeah, as you say, that's when some of the AI things started. Shopify Magic is the most notable one, which I actually was surprised was released that long ago. But yeah, we're now finally seeing Sidekick appear on some stores. I've heard some clients actually quite like it, but others just said it's pretty useless and not done what they want it to do. But I suppose with all these tools, you kind of you don't know what it truly can do until you've basically tried it. But I think the most notable, useful one, at least I've seen, is the new analytics. It kind of, if you really want to use it to its best, you're going to have to basically learn how to write some form of queries. But Sidekick can actually write those queries for you, and that's the same for the segmentation part for customers as well. So I think for those kind of use cases, it's good. But asking it to one of the examples we saw when it first came out was it was going to go and tell you where to go and change something in your theme, or that kind of stuff, or asking it how to, I don't know, how to get more sales or something like that. Like yes, people have probably tried to put that in there. It's just not going to work. But for things that, generating a collection quickly with some rules, some smart collections with some rules or something like that, like it'll be useful, definitely.
Yeah, yeah, I think we agree. We're a long way off the agent be able to sort of reconfigure your theme for you, or add a to improve conversion optimization in your landing pages. I think that's like a much higher ordered task that we're not there. What do you think, Mikko? I mean, is actually AI an important part of Shopify's roadmap? Is it something they need to win at, or is it something they can probably do without at the moment?
If I look at the market and if I look what's happening, if I talk with our merchants, absolutely they need to be there. And to be very honest, I was playing with the tool when it came out and have been doing it. I think it's in some ways it's impressive. As example, it understands different languages, and you can ask that how was your sales like last November on the 13th if you for some reason would need that type of information, and it can deliver that. But then for any of the more complex questions, it's not there yet. So I believe that it's sort of like the ground zero, and now they are building on top of that. Will it be a sort of like a feature that some of the other platforms don't have? Absolutely. If you look at other platforms, if you go with Central or BigCommerce or some of the other ones, they don't have anything in similar. And if you then look at Shopify's volumes and their development volumes and the development budgets, they can heavily invest in AI, and they can probably make it work. But is it still there quite yet? No. And if I look at then any of our larger customers, they are anyway using other solutions that have something to do with AI or AI powered solutions. We do even have our own data platform, Ellis. We've been doing AI stuff for over 3 years, had some really good results. And then if I look at some of the typical suspects, as example, Klaviyo, the AI features that Klaviyo announced, our customers are extremely happy with those. So it's a time saver, but it's sort of like extension of your existing team. Whatever you do, whatever it's front end, whatever it's email, customer segmentation, AI isn't there yet that you would automate everything, but it can help you to be more productive, or it can point out that there are matters here and there where you definitely like pay attention to. I think what happened with Shopify is what happens typically with AI, that you sort of like overpromise early days something, and then you quite can't deliver. But then again, I have like my full trust with Shopify that it's only a matter of time when they will add one or two really nice features there, when even the larger customers start to find value from it. And they're definitely like very open with the feedback. So I only can imagine that in 6 months we will see some really nice features that are being AI driven and related.
I would say that they obviously break down all the kind of features that are released into different sections, and obviously there's the developer section. And yeah, some of the AI features that they brought to the docs have actually been quite helpful, especially with the transition from REST to GraphQL. So I've got 2 backend developers that work on integrations and moving some elements from REST to GraphQL, or even just having the AI tool help write some GraphQL statements. It has been pretty good. And you've said about productivity, that's obviously the main thing. Although it has sometimes steered us to kind of like GraphQL calls that basically don't exist, or like objects that don't exist. So yeah, definitely need to improve it in some ways. But yeah, that's a nice little bit that kind of like I suppose clients aren't going to see, but it's going to help us, the developers. I think we lost Edward.
Small technical problems.
Yeah. Not sure if he's going to come back.
Yeah, should we call it a day?